The cold, sterile office hummed with the sound of keyboards clicking and muffled conversations. Mia's heart pounded as she sat frozen at her desk, staring at the termination letter in her trembling hands. Fired. On her first day, the words blurred as tears burned at the corners of her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not here, not in front of these people who had already dismissed her as nothing more than a mistake. She had barely stepped into this corporate jungle when her manager, Ethan Collins, had set her up for failure. He'd handed her a stack of complex reports, smirked, and told her to finish them before lunch, knowing full well it was an impossible task for a newcomer. Mia had worked tirelessly, her fingers moving at lightning speed across the keyboard, but it wasn't enough. He had waited until the entire team was present before publicly tearing her apart. "This level of incompetence is unacceptable," Ethan had announced loudly, his cold eyes locked onto hers. "We don't have space for dead weight here." Mia had opened her mouth to defend herself, but the weight of humiliation pressed against her chest, making it hard to breathe. Now, as she stood, her ears ringing with whispered conversations around her, she could feel everyone watching, some with pity, others with amusement. Ethan leaned back in his chair, watching her with a smug smile. "You can leave now, Mia." Her fingers clenched around the strap of her bag. She should walk away, she told herself. Just leave and never look back. But something inside her snapped. She was not going to let this man crush her like this. Mia straightened her back, lifted her chin, and turned on her heels, not towards the exit but towards the glass-walled office where Ethan sat, ruling his domain like a king. Gasps rippled through the room as she marched inside without knocking and slammed the door behind her. "What the hell do you think you're?" Ethan started, but Mia cut him off. "You fired me unjustly," she said, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside her. "You set me up to fail. You humiliated me in front of everyone," Ethan chuckled, leaning back in his chair. "And that's just business, sweetheart." Mia clenched her fists. "You think you can treat people like disposable trash and get away with it?" "Pretty much," he said with a smirk. "Now, get out before I call security." A slow smile spread across Mia's face. "I don't think so." She reached into her bag and pulled out a USB drive. Ethan's smirk faltered. "What is that?" he asked, his voice suddenly losing its arrogance. Mia inserted the USB into his computer. Within seconds, his screen flooded with files, emails, documents, evidence. "I found your little secret while trying to complete the impossible task you gave me," she said, her voice laced with quiet triumph. "The numbers didn't add up, so I dug a little deeper. Turns out, you've been embezzling funds from this company for years, moving small amounts, covering it up with fake reports." Ethan's face drained of color. That's ridiculous. You have no proof." Mia tapped the screen. "This says otherwise. And don't bother deleting anything. I already sent copies to HR, the CEO, and your dear wife. I figured she'd be interested to know where all the business trips money was really going." Ethan shot up from his chair, his hand slamming on the desk. "You little..." Mia held up her phone, the red recording light blinking. Careful now." Threatening a former employee? That's just another nail in your coffin." The office outside was silent. Everyone had gathered, watching the scene unfold through the glass walls. They couldn't hear what was being said, but they could see Ethan's face twisting from rage to fear. "You ruined me," he whispered, his voice shaking. "No," Mia said, stepping towards the door. "You ruined yourself." She turned and walked out, head held high, past the stunned employees, past the whispers that followed her like a victorious anthem. As she reached the elevator, her phone buzzed. A message from the CEO's office. "Come upstairs. We need to talk." Mia smiled as the elevator doors closed. She wasn't walking away in defeat. No, she had just won a battle she hadn't even known she was fighting.